You want to have a chocolate?
One last chocolate.
You know it's bad for your teeth. Are you sure?
I'm going to eat it this way, but not that way.
Is that right?
Right.
All right, don't tell Mummy then.
This
My
way.
wife, like many Chinese parents, have a kind of fixed idea about what it is that their kids should be and their kids should do when they grow up. So we got 3 kids. Well, there you go. There's a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant. Perfect.
Today
So
is
we never
Mother's
have to
Day.
pay for a
I'm at
professional
Alex and Xiaoli's home. There is a successful mixed marriage, Chinese wife and Australian husband. But soon they will face the education issue to their kids.
Kids should have the opportunity to explore what it is that they're good at and what they enjoy doing. Everybody has different skills and everybody has different interests. And it's very important to give children the opportunity to have a range of things which they try out. So they need to try different sports and different activities and different musical instruments and different subjects at school. And some of them they'll be good at and some they won't. And some they'll like and some they won't. And in my opinion, children should pursue those activities which they enjoy and hopefully they're good at. Normally that's the same thing. And you can make a career out of that. You know, you can make a career out of anything. If the thing that most interests you in the world is paper plates, that's fine, because there are people who want to buy them. You know, open a paper plate factory. There's always other people who are interested in the same things that you are.
Dad, I'm almost finished.
Okay, monkey.
Because I almost done a half of it. I done a half of it.
Oh, you've done a great job. Can you do some more? That is a lot. What does it say?
Joseph.
Xiaoli is cooking dinner for kids. She always trying to teach kids Chinese and don't want them to give up that languages.
That's a princess book. It's called 公主。我的妈妈讲给我，还有我的爸爸会。
一方面孩子也要去引导他。
In my opinion,
引导他的
children
同时
need to
我
be
觉得还是
guided
要
with
给他
enough
自己的
personal
空间
space.
因为小孩子
They are
还
too
小
young to
他自己
realize
就
what
是
they
说
are capable
还
of.
不知道
We need to
为什么
develop their
我觉得要
interest.
去挖掘他的
Chinese
兴趣爱好
education,
在
which
中
is
国教育
different
和
from
西方教育
Western's,
确实有不一
leads
样
to the
而应试教育
examination-oriented
是因为
education
在
by
在
memorizing
是让孩
mechanically.
子注重孩子的
People
兴
here
趣
attach
然后
importance
快乐
to
学习
mental and
不要引
educational
导
health.
他这个
Never
这
judge
方
a
面
child because
做
of
得不
one
好
mistake.
去说孩
What
子
Chinese
然后构成
education
孩子的
should be
性格就
improved
可能
is
更
to be
多
benefit to their
在中
mental
国
health.
可能缺乏的是这个
My Chinese education tends to emphasize social and family tendencies, obligation, rather than Western concepts that are more individually oriented. Dr. Christina from UTS comparing the differences between two cultures.
Generally, I would say that most people would consider the Western education system to be more open and liberal than the Eastern culture. The Eastern one tends to be more hierarchical. You know, the teacher is in charge and the teacher, gives information to the students to absorb. Whereas in the Western culture, the emphasis is more on the students trying to understand it for themselves and to think critically about what they're learning. In the Chinese system, the focus is on, really academic excellence and, really pushing the children to achieve as much as they can. Whereas in Australia, a lot of parents don't even really focus so much on homework. They want the children to follow other pursuits, maybe sport or just playing with friends. And so, again, the stereotype is amongst the Chinese parents in Australia, the so-called tiger mothers. They're very pushy and aggressive and, they don't let their children out to play. They force their children to stay inside and work, or they send them to tutoring colleges, for maths or whatever. And among the mainstream Australian families, there's a bit of discomfort, I think, about that kind of parenting. That's certainly something that has come up, in sort of debates in public arenas.
Richard and his wife married in China. The couple came to Australia in 1996, and their daughter Grace was born a year later.
It's yours. I already heated mine up from before. I drink it very strong. Here we are. Mother wanted her to learn piano. That proved in the end to be where she became later very good at music. And my attitude had been, well, she could learn different instruments, but her mother was very determined that Grace should study piano. So actually in the end that worked out very well. And also, she came top in her high school. But when Grace was younger, my wife tended to think, oh, she's not doing brilliantly, because a lot of the Chinese families would say, oh, my child's doing very well. But I knew that Grace had this talent. Being a teacher, I could see that too, talent, desire to learn. And when she was about 13, she once got a project on something. It was just like water in Queensland. And she just did that and wrote it out right until the end and kept on doing it. And she ended up with full marks in her project. And I could just see then that she's very, very determined to finish something and do very well.
Richard believes that it is very good to allow a child to learn naturally in their early primary school years and not force them. But at a certain time, they will realize what to do.
And she suddenly began to study very deeply, long hours of study, but it was never something that I forced her to do. She insisted on doing it. In senior high school, she chose the school she wanted to go to. She chose that. She chose the subjects. And then she suddenly became very involved in study. And I had to tell her, slow down, don't stay up too late studying. So my experience with her shows that it was a good way to bring up a child.
In Chinese family, parents place too many expectations to the child, and sometimes have neglected child's nature of freedom. Success, failure, really that important? By examining and evaluating these factors, we can go back to the culture, the history.
China invented the exam. If you think about it that way, with the imperial examination system, this is a history that goes back hundreds of years, right? So people were focused on studying because for a lot of families that would perhaps be your only opportunity to move up in your society. If you do well in the examination, you can become, a civil servant and, really achieve a lot. And perhaps that was your only path for upward mobility. And I think that kind of history has obviously shaped the way that people approach education in China. So I don't think there's any real equivalent of that in, say, Australian history. That kind of really determined focus on education, that's never really been a part of Australian history, because there's always been other avenues for social mobility. If you want to move up, sometimes being educated is not the main thing, like people joke that plumbers make more, like tradespeople make more than, some academics say. So being highly educated was not necessarily the only path to upward mobility.